In the history of grand illusions, there is a very remarkable family who helped set the standard for magic performance. All of the illusions you see here being performed today were a part of their story. In one sense, they are long gone. In another, they are very much alive. They are the Herrmann family.
I hope I get this right. Is it 1963?
Are you born in 63?
Yes, I am.
And they are still very much with us. When a child is asked to draw a picture of a magician, they usually, whether they know it or not, create an image of a member of the great Herrmann family. The wisping mustache, the evening clothes, the cape. It is the image most of us have of a magician, and it was the trademark of the remarkable Herrmann family. From Compars to Alexander to Leon to Felix, it was a look that came to epitomize deception, intrigue, and the all-knowing man of mythical talents who could read your mind or catch bullets out of thin air. They are largely forgotten now, but within the magic world, the Herrmanns were a family of firsts. The first international star magicians, the first to set the look of the magician, and the first woman solo performer. Illusions performed by the Herrmanns, such as the notorious bullet catch trick, in which the magician catches live rounds in his teeth or on a plate, can still be found today, albeit in slightly different venues. Magician Ben Robinson recreated this illusion in 1990. Jeff McBride's incredible skill at card scaling thrills Vegas audiences. This trick, though, has its roots in the 19th century.
Alexander Herrmann could throw playing cards with legendary power and precision. He could bounce them off the walls of a balcony. He could land a card in the lap of any particular spectator in the audience. It was one of his most popular effects.
So the two different people send a clear thought. The strongest thought I have right now, the person has a card with them. And the card is
Jeff and Tessa's second sight act, in which they appear able to read the minds of audience members, is a great hit with corporate groups and audiences across the country. Few here know, however, that Jeff and Tessa's second sight act was a regular feature in the incredible touring show of Adelaide Herrmann, credited by most as the first great female magician.
Quite sure you know. Examine his thoughts.
Well, I wasn't sure at first, but I was wondering if that's Brian.
And your name is?
Brian.
Is it Brian Walsh?
Oh, is it Brian Walsh?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Brian. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Card magic, performed here by Eugene Berger. The universal popularity of card magic can be traced back to Compars Herrmann, who played to packed houses all over the world.
Take the card that's come out for you, Catherine. You take the entire deck and look at these prices. It's the 9 of Hearts.
And then, of course, there are the truly grand effects, like the ghoulish cremation. But the story starts earlier than this. Germany, in the early 19th century. Samuel Herrmann, a physician, mixes magic with medicine, often working as a traveling showman. This is an era before great stage shows, when magicians lived the life of itinerant gypsies, street performers, or what was known as parlor prestidigitators.
Just let go for 1 second. Look at this. Look. Maybe you know what might be better if I do it without the chopstick. You think so? Here, look. Let me show you. Hold up your hand. Look. If I just squeeze it, see, it just goes. Looks like it disappears, huh? Look on the chopstick. Here, look.
After the birth of his son Compars in 1816, Samuel took his family to Paris. Much to Samuel's dismay and apparent surprise, the bohemian atmosphere didn't encourage his son's studies. Instead, Compars was entranced by the artistic life. Using stage skills learned by assisting his father, Compars joined an acting troupe. He flirted with medical school, but settled on performance and became a magician. In 1847, he took his show on the road and would soon garner an international reputation. He greatly impressed the Sultan of Turkey by cutting the heads off of a white chicken and a black chicken.
And then he switched them, and he put the white head on the black chicken, the black head on the white chicken. And the Sultan wanted him to do it with a black slave and a white slave. And Compars declined to perform that effect.
Of course, Compars was not the only Herrmann. According to legend, Compars kidnapped his little brother Alexander, who was 28 years his junior, to work as his apprentice and assistant.
When he was 8 years old, his brother Compars conspired with him to run off as his assistant, and the story sort of always said that he kidnapped his brother.
Always looking for new horizons and territory, in 1859, Compars became one of the first magicians to tour overseas. In this case, he made sure that his reputation preceded him.
When he came to the United States in 1861, he was hailed as the premier prestidigitator of the world.
The reception was both rapturous and prosperous. At the New York Academy of Music, the box office take was $35,000 in just 5 weeks. Compars' show might seem unusual for the venues. He would perform close-up magic effects that would astonish large audiences in 1,500-seat theaters. Today, however, we can gain a glimpse of what Compars' show was like. Magicians such as Lance Burton emulate Compars' style by performing close-up magic in large theater settings. A variation on one of Compars' most famous illusions, the inexhaustible bottle, was still being performed by the amazing Kreskin in the 1970s.
There really isn't any. As a matter of fact, would you come forward and just hold the bottom of the vase with both hands? Bottom. That would be under the bottom. Now, would you come over here and do likewise? Hold the bottom here, just the bottom. Now, hold it a little bit higher. It's going to be an interesting phenomenon because there are no attachments. There's no way of my entering anything into it. And yet, folks, watch. All I do is hold my hand over it now. And can you folks describe to me, do you notice something happening? What do you notice happening, my friend?
Heavier.
It's getting heavier. You can feel it gaining weight. Even though I'm not touching it, and there are no hoses up their sleeves, especially his. And yet, look, we've waited long enough because it has filled up again. Quite a while. Isn't that wild? Really good.
Compars Herrmann would perform right up to his death in 1887. At this point, his brother Alexander would carry on the Herrmann legacy. It was logical and, in fact, inevitable. Alexander had already become a superlative magician. Headlining his own act, he effortlessly transformed himself into Herrmann the Great, mesmerizing audiences with his charisma and skill. When most magicians say Herrmann, they are usually referring to Alexander.
Alexander Herrmann was one of a kind. He really had a genius in the ability to make himself attractive to an audience.
The greatest magician of all time was Alexander Herrmann. He could walk into an audience and produce rabbits without any equipment.
Alexander Herrmann made it fun.
Alexander's act was quite different from his brothers. He preferred larger scale illusions and became known for large props and elaborate stagings. It made sense. By the 1870s, magic had entered theaters appropriate for large-scale illusions, to say nothing of technical innovations that made such illusions possible. Some of the illusions included decapitation, spirit cabinets, and the legendary bullet catch. It was terrifyingly effective. A firing squad would position itself in front of Herrmann and fire at him with bullets marked by the audience. Herrmann would catch the bullets on a plate. There seems to be a gothic and macabre sensibility to many of the Herrmann effects. Certainly one of the most ghoulish and effective, the one that seems to follow the bullet catch with perfect logic, is the cremation. Performed by Las Vegas headliners Kalen and Ginger today, it has lost none of its potency. Alexander was a bona fide success, and it showed in an offstage style as flamboyant as his onstage persona.
This was a guy who traveled around the United States in a private railroad car, which was a fairly flamboyant way to travel, certainly an expensive way to travel. But before he got to any town, he climbed out of his railroad car and climbed into a chariot that would be drawn by two powerful steeds, and he would ride a chariot into town. When Alexander Herrmann arrived in your town, something big was happening.
Using his own private railway car, he toured the United States on the newly completed Transcontinental Railroad. In 1874, Alexander met and fell in love with a fiery dancer named Adelaide Herrmann. She would leave an indelible mark upon Herrmann's act and legacy.
Of course, they were doing these fantastic dances where they kicked their heels up literally and showed their legs, and people were going nuts. They just thought that was just outrageous to see a lady's leg. So she was sort of on the cutting edge.
Adelaide and Alexander Herrmann were married in 1875, and she joined Alexander on stage. Audiences were enchanted by the lithe and sultry beauty who matched Alexander in both wit and artistry. She turned heads with her racy solo dance numbers, and she holds the distinction of being the first magic assistant to receive co-billing status. Magicians today credit Adelaide with changing many of the prevailing views of women in show business.
And as authority figures in those times, it was very hard for a woman to carry off that role. We were in a paternalistic society where men were the authorities. So for Adelaide Herrmann to perform and succeed the way she did, and she had a remarkable career, it really puts her in one of the most outstanding positions in the history of magic.
The lives of both Herrmanns were extravagant. Alexander's wealth and fame was beyond his father and brother's wildest dreams. He owned a mansion in Long Island, a yacht, and even had his own private railway car. The Herrmanns lived extravagantly, but it would come back to haunt Adelaide later. In 1896, the Herrmann Company was leaving New York State on the very first leg of a tour across the United States. Alexander was in his rail car, smoking one of his favorite Herrmann cigars, when he was seized with chest pains. They wired for a doctor to meet them at the next stop, but it was too late. Alexander would die on that train.
Adelaide was right at his side, and she had her arms around him, and he finally looked at her and said, "I guess I'm not going to get over this. Be sure to take the company back to New York." And he died. The newspapers literally said, "Well, Herrmann the Great is dead. Magic is dead."
Adelaide had little time to grieve. Alexander had been at one of his financial lows. A terrible fact soon became apparent.
He didn't leave any money.
If Adelaide was broke, there was at least a full season of bookings ahead, so within days of burying her beloved Alexander, she sent for Alexander's nephew, Leon. Leon Herrmann was an ambitious 29-year-old cabaret performer working at the Folies Bergère in Paris. The young man jumped at the chance to ride on the coattails of the greatest magician of all time. Introducing her nephew as the successor to Hermann the Great, Adelaide and Leon set upon the tour planned for Alexander. Leon soon proved to be a skilled practitioner at one of the most popular magic tricks of all time, the levitation, performed here by Brett Daniels. While Leon gained a reputation as a skilled and innovative magician, and Adelaide was featured prominently, it was a short-lived union. Audiences felt that Leon was no Alexander.
Leon, I think, unfortunately, was judged very harshly against Alexander. Alexander was so congenial, and Leon didn't speak English. His English was very poor at first.
Shortly after they began performing together, a cartoon parody appeared. The point was clear: Leon could not fill Alexander's shoes. Since there could only be one Hermann the Great, in 1899, Adelaide made the audacious decision to go solo as a magician in her own right. Her first tour took her west.
Well, the West was still the Wild West in 1900, much of it. And for a woman to pack around a big illusion show and on her own, with just her and her company, that took a lot of fortitude and courage.
If you were a female entertainer, you were at the edge. You were definitely at the edge. No matter how clean your act was, the very idea that you didn't marry and you went from city to city without a chaperone was outrageous. A few women picked a career, period, and to pick a career where you're out in the world on your own, in a powerful position, is, it would just have to be groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking indeed. Many people were surprised at her daring in perpetuating some of the more dangerous illusions, including the bullet catch trick. Adelaide was chastised both for performing the illusion and, perhaps worse, performing it in slacks. Overall, it was Adelaide's determination that kept alive her husband's penchant for grand spectacular shows, and they were spectacular.
When we look at the pictures of this today, I mean, it looks like a setting for a grand opera.
But Adelaide could not repeat Alexander's show. While her show would always carry the unmistakable Herrmann stamp, lavish sets and multiple assistants, it would soon also be infused with a feminine quality. Modern illusionist Jade gives us a sense of Adelaide's act, which began to use subtle music and was filled with a sense of growth and replenishment, represented here by this overflowing rice bowl illusion. After his professional break with Adelaide, Leon decided to make productive use of his famous uncle's title, cheekily billing himself as Hermann the Great. Fiercely protective of her late husband's name, Adelaide hauled Leon to court, but her injunction attempts failed, and Leon used the name for the duration of his career. The Herrmann name was obviously good as gold at the box office, for Adelaide soon found herself launching another unsuccessful suit to protect her husband's legacy. This time it was her nephew, Felix. Felix Kretschm had been exposed to magic his entire life, having spent time as a child at the New York home of his Aunt Adelaide and Uncle Alexander. A former assistant to his cousin Leon, Felix was intent on becoming the next in a long line of great Herrmanns.
He appeared at the Musée Eden in New York City. And then he started booking other shows, and his career just started growing.
By all accounts, Felix was a talented performer who truly upheld the family name, despite Adelaide's disapproval and the fact that he was not a true Herrmann. Felix died in New Orleans in 1938. Adelaide Herrmann continued performing well into her 70s. When she died in 1932 at the age of 79, she'd been performing for half a century. But the greatest tragedy of her death was that it ended the magical reign of the Herrmann dynasty. Many who saw Compars Herrmann perform in Europe deemed him the finest conjurer who ever lived. Those who watched his brother in America made the same claim for Alexander. Others lauded Leon and Felix, and just about everyone agrees that the career and strength of Adelaide paved the way for just about any woman entering magic as a headliner. It's ironic that while the first family of magic is largely gone from memory, their work and legacy can be found on stages all over the world. It can be found in simple sleights and grand theatrical effects. It can be found in second sight and card scaling. It can also be found in something as simple as a child's drawing, and in the very image most of us conjure up when we hear the word magician.
Well, hello again. Do you play a little cards?
Yes, I do.
Bummer. I hate it when they play cards, but that's okay because in what I'm going to show you, not only do we use my deck, I deal. And outside of that, you have nothing to worry about. And Leah, as I deal these cards, when you have the impulse, just tell me to stop.
Stop.
And you stopped on the 9 of hearts. See, it's a lot easier if I see the card too. Well, if I took your 9 of hearts and put it on top of the deck, you would know exactly where it is. See, it's on top of the deck. And if I put it on the bottom of the deck, you'd know. But when I cut the deck, you don't know anymore. The spirits know. Do you believe in spirits?
Very much.
Good, because I hate doing this for agnostics. Spirits, show us Leah's card now. Tell them to go back.
Go back.
Take the card that's come out for you, Catherine. You take the entire deck and look at these prices. It's the 9 of hearts.
Bravo! Excellent. That's great.